Hey babies, welcome to episode 2 of Catching Flies. So episode 2, I find myself in Atlanta, Georgia, darling, and I have been looking forward to this for a very long time. You know, I'm officially a peach holder and about to give the people what they want, and that is some scenic, iconic views and moments in Atlanta, and I just can't wait. So yeah, let's go on this journey. Arrived in Atlanta safely and, you know, felt good, and it was a sunny sort of day, you know, when I got there, and yeah man, very surreal, felt very surreal, very exciting and very refreshing to be yet in another space, you know, and also just excited to see what the vibe actually is. I did definitely notice that it's actually a very crowded airport. So, you know, they say Hartsfield-Jackson is the busiest airport in the world, and I can believe that because that airport is huge. Like we didn't land immediately. We sort of hovered mid-air. Even though we were already there, we hovered mid-air until at some point we're allowed to land, and that's just because of high traffic, right? You kind of join a queue. So that was kind of an interesting way of telling that this airport was very, very busy. But the airport itself doesn't really have like high ceilings, like it's quite cramped and small. So I found that pretty disappointing in some way, because yes, it's the busiest airport in the world, but other than it being the busiest airport in the world, there's nothing like luxurious about it. It's pretty small in terms of like floor to ceiling. It's a very small space, and it's also very crowded. I feel like they would have done well to have high ceilings in such a busy space that sort of makes the space feel bigger than it is and less cramped. So yeah, it's very, very congested, and luckily I made my way through. Day one was absolutely fabulous for me in Atlanta. I basically got to go to the Hawks game. So I'm a person who loves to pre-plan everything for every trip and also leave a little wiggle room. And I feel like I did the perfect planning for this trip because there was not too much going on. And so I kind of planned and spread it out throughout the time that I was there. And yeah, the first thing I did was go to the Hawks game, which kind of gave me a very great orientation of the atmosphere of Atlanta. You know, there was everyone from, I guess, everywhere within this arena, the State Farm Arena, and it was really atmospheric. It was good, and I just loved seeing all the black people around and just absolutely just relaxing and chilling and having a good time. So I just feel like that kind of also energized me. You know, I love seeing black people just in their element, looking moneyed, looking cute, and you know, with like just with that energy, man, energy of success, which I really love to see and I think is important for any person who visits, but also is important to the messaging of Atlanta, and it being a Black Mecca. So for me, it actually just kind of reminded me of like Johannesburg in some ways, because Johannesburg is very much a similar energy. It's the African metropolitan melting pot, and beyond it being an African metropolitan melting pot, but it's a Black melting pot of the world, and it's Atlanta's kind of a very similar energy to Johannesburg, but Atlanta's obviously on a smaller scale, and it's obviously a different context, but very much the energy of success is the same. So that was really nice to see that at the Hawks game. And I also got to interact with Shamia. Interact as in see her host the actual game. When she was on the Housewives, she just appeared to be a wallflower in some ways. And when I saw her being the MC of that game, and I was just like, she's so charismatic. She is so iconic. She's the voice of Atlanta, man. She's got that energy. She's got that pep. She's got that, that ability to control the room and to feed life into it, which did not translate to how they portrayed her on The Real Housewives when she was a friend. So I was really just impressed by her demeanor and realized that she is actually a great talent and she should probably be a main cast member on this show. And I don't know why she's never been a main cast member, because if you're in Atlanta, that girl owns that city. Like, that's her backyard. Do you know what I mean? That's literally her backyard. So very, very impressed. And also that experience for me vindicated her, but also put her in a different light to the light that we had been shown. And look how everything turned out now. And, she's essentially a peach holder, and not only the peach holder, but she's the new anchor of the show. So delay is not denial, and she's definitely testament to that. So very, 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 that was literally the highlight of the game. Like, I was just so shocked to see that this girl is just, she's like that. She's that girl, in Atlanta. So yeah, that was a really great game. Day 2 was also very special. I went to a football game for the first time in my life. It was nice, but it was long. It could have been shorter. I wished it was shorter. And the reason why it was long is just because of the ad breaks. There's just too many advertisements in a football game. Like, I just don't understand. Also, how do these people even maintain, focus in the game if there's just so many stop and starts? Like, there's just so much. Like, you will play for half a second and it'll stop for like a minute and a half, and then you'll play for another 10 seconds and it'll stop, and then it just takes 3 hours or more for the game to finish. And it's just like, this thing could have been finished in a good 1.5 hours, if we were maximizing play time and minimizing ad time. So I didn't really like that. It just felt riddled in capitalism. And that's every football game. Like, every football game I've now seen on TV, outside of it being live, it's just so full of ads, and that's just a turn off. For me, the basketball game was nice because it didn't take too long to finish, and it was exciting, man. It was very exciting, quick, short, done. That's just how it should be. So yeah, the football game was nice, but too long. But I loved being in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I think it's a very well-built venue and very large. And Atlanta really does have some really great sporting venues and arenas. The rest of the day after the football game was pretty chilled. Decided to go to Bulldogs, or attempted to go to Bulldogs, but then it was kind of a very slow night. It was like a Sunday, Christmas Eve, so it was kind of quiet, and they closed at like 12 a.m. So then I kind of diverted and decided to go to a more chilled environment, like a bathhouse. So I actually enjoy going to bathhouses, particularly basically gay spas, because they're so chilled, they're so relaxed. You can all just woosah and chill by the pool, or relax in like a robe or a towel, whatever, and just take in the space, but also be with your thoughts and just chill, So for those reasons, I feel like because it's such a quietish and very low-key space, I definitely enjoy going to a good bathhouse, and I always make it a point to, on every trip, to just see what's out there so I can connect with also other queer men who are out there, and yeah, man, keep connecting with the community. Ended up meeting a really cool dude there, and yeah, man, like serendipitously we connected, and I guess we took it back to my accommodations and connected further. So it was cute, it was nice. There was a cute little Christmas miracle, and yeah, man. Next day was also kind of very chilled and very low-key. Got to go to the Centennial Olympic Park area, and the Centennial Olympic Park area has got the Coca-Cola Museum, which I got to tour, and it's a really beautiful space. I think most people just go there to like down as many Coke products they can essentially get their hands on, because they have so many different, you know, Coke products there to try and sample. So by the time you leave the space, you kind of, you know, on a caffeine, you know, buzz, because you've tried so many different Cokes from so many different parts of the world. So really liked it. Obviously, they don't actually give you the secret recipe. I've always been fascinated by the journey of how Coke was made, but also how Coca-Cola became such a big, massive multinational company. So I think I got that from that experience, and you know, yeah, it was really, really an important thing to do, because Coca-Cola is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. So I was like, you know what? Let's go investigate this beverage that everyone loves to drink. I will say though that like Coke in the States definitely tastes different to Coke. Mexican Coke, it tastes different to South African Coke. South African Coke and Mexican Coke taste similar, but American Coke is very different. Definitely feel like the other Cokes are maybe made differently, the process is different. So that was an interesting observation, that I realized that Coke really does not taste the same. Like, it really doesn't taste the same, not because it's made differently, but I think maybe the quality of ingredients or the differences in ingredients in different parts of the world make it either taste better or taste worse. I think it's definitely, Mexican Coke is very tasty, South African Coke is very tasty. And American Coke is good. And then, yeah, so after the Coke Museum, I went to the Georgia Museum, the Georgia Aquarium, which was very tranquil. It was definitely a change in energy. It was a very chaotic environment in the sense that there was a lot of people within the space, but it was more serene. You know, I got to see many different types of fish. Not something that I would do on like a daily basis, to be honest. Like, my first choice of entertainment is not necessarily to go to an aquarium, but it was something different. It was in the area, and I was like, let me just see what it's about, you know. I'm also kind of, I feel some type of way about having animals being kept in captivity for pure consumption of humans, you know, visual pleasure. Like, I just found there's something odd about that, you know, because at some point I think humans were subject to, you know, visual displays in a museum-like type setting, you know, your Sarabart ones, and people visually, like there was something like humiliating about that experience, and that was just not right, and should never be repeated. But when I'm, I guess, in this particular space where these animals are held captive, it kind of triggered that, you know, those thoughts, you know, about if this is actually right or not to do. I think obviously these animals have now been domesticated because they've learned to exist in this space, because this is just the life that they have. But does that necessarily make it right? In some ways, doesn't feel right. Just even the whole zoo culture doesn't feel right. If it's just particularly keeping animals captive for entertainment purposes, then surely they're not fulfilling the purposes that they were designed to fulfill within the ecosystem, you know. So I just feel like felt some type of way about it. But I'm glad I went into the space because, again, it triggered some type of reflection and analysis about deeper issues, which tends to be, I feel like if you know me, you'll know that I love to reflect on stuff and talk about the deeper conversations and the deeper meanings of things, because shit is not that shallow, people. There's layers and layers to many different things, and we need to unpack and understand, and take a minute. So yeah, after the aquarium, it was also really chilled. Went back to my accommodations and really decided to dial it back and relax. And of course, part 2 with the guy that I met on Christmas Eve was in the works, so that was pretty cute. And yeah, I guess I got to enjoy myself again. So yeah, all in all, the day was cute. And so on my last day in Atlanta, I decided to just take a stroll within the community. So I went to Ponce City Market and just to get the vibe of the space. And it's obviously there's lots of stalls and different little shops, lots of food, and there's bars and restaurants up there. And it was just a very interesting space to be in and connect in. And purely, to be honest, the reason why I was there was because this is just something that I'd see on different feeds on my Instagram and all of that stuff. And I was like, well, I'm curious about the space. Maybe it's nice. Maybe it's cute. What's the vibe? What's the fuss? And really, it's just a market and any other market. And yeah, not too bad. Not a bad vibe at all. Didn't really get to do much because when I was there, it was kind of early in the day. So some shops were closed. Rooftop bar opens at 3 p.m. I was there much earlier than that. So couldn't really get to go to the rooftop and actually take some panoramic pictures that I actually really wanted to take. But all in all, the experience is still really nice. It's quite a decent market. Then I decided to go to the park, Piedmont Park, just to walk around, get a vibe of it. It was obviously winter, so it wasn't looking all green and cute, but I enjoyed just walking around and reflecting on my time in Atlanta, but also just on life and stuff in general. It was a park, it's quiet, it's serene, and yeah, I really enjoyed walking around the space and going to the dam-like area which was there, and wandering aimlessly really was somewhat a fun, fulfilling event at that point. So yeah, then I decided to go to, there was also a botanical garden within or close to Piedmont Park. There was a botanical garden type of area / museum space. which I decided to go to, but I didn't really go inside because I found it was like getting pretty late and the museum didn't really open for like very long. So I was like, you know what, let me just like wander in that general area and then take my ride share to the next place that I wanted to go to, which was the mall. So yeah, it was nice. I didn't really go into the botanical gardens, but I left Piedmont Park, then I went to the mall, to Phipps Plaza and Lenox Square, and it was nice. It's just another mall. Like I was just also like, the reason why I went was because what's the vibe? And also I was actually running out of things to do, guys. Like I was really just running out of things to do because there's not that much to do, you know? So I went to the mall, which I normally never really go to when I go on trips per se, unless I'm going there for something that I need to get. But I went to the mall, much smaller than the Galleria, but it was still a very nice bougie mall. And yeah, lots of bling bling. It's also kind of empty because I think maybe just the day that I was there, it was like during the week. So yeah, but enjoyed myself at the mall, very bougie. And so my time came to an end in Atlanta, and I really enjoyed my stay, and I think it was like such a cute experience, and it's very low key. I think the speed of Atlanta was completely different to the speed of New York City, but in a good way, because obviously I expected them to not be the same, and I definitely made the most of what I could do in Atlanta. And yeah, man, it was a really good space. Important to take away, and the key reason why I always regard Atlanta as like one of those, you know, places you need to always visit is just, particularly as an American who maybe does not live in a predominantly black city, when you are within that Atlanta space, I think feeding off and rubbing off of that energy of black confidence and black people doing it and being, you know, within the affluent spaces and doing the most and living their best lives, I think that's important to see. You know, it's important to see, and for me, my best and most enjoyable takeaway from the space, and just realizing that it's actually very small. Like it's a very small space. I think sometimes when you hear of a particular place, when you read about it or you hear about it, whatever, when you see it on, you know, television, whatever the case may be, it may be bigger than what it is, but it's actually quite a small and intimate space. And I actually liked it for that. You know, I actually liked the fact that it was not a very large city, because I'd just come from a large city. So yeah, man, all in all, Atlanta was cute. And yeah, hope you stick around to see where I go to next on Catching Flights. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you again on the next video. Mwah.